Okay, how to how to sample a song with drums in it. All right. I call this one Another Kind of Love. Uses a very famous sample. I use EQing to filter out all of the highs relative, and I just keep in the lows. So this is one way. This is one way. This is the way that I chose to actually use the sample that has drums in it. But here's the sample, the way that I'm using it right now. Just a sample. Okay, so now you're probably like, man, what is that? But some of y'all all automatically know what it is. And this, I'm just going to give you a brief, intro or background about this. This is one of the tracks that I made for Computer Music Academy, one of the homework assignments. This was one of the Do What You Like homework assignments. I'm going to filter back in some of the sounds so you can hear what the actual sample is doing. Take a listen. I am using the bass line from that in this right here. So take a listen. Okay, so what I'm pointing out to you right there, the EQing part, that's one way that you can do it. And you notice that all I'm using is the bass line from that sample, and it has the drums in it. It has everything in it. And I filtered everything else out and just using the bass line. And now predominantly all you hear is the bass from the sample and my drums over top of it. Now another thing is keep in mind the way that you actually chop the sample itself. You can chop the sample to where it has the drum hits, where think about it as a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4 is one beat measure. So 1 beat, 2, 3 is 4 beats in each measure. 4 beats per measure and a 4/4. When you think about 4/4 music, 4 beats per measure. Okay? And each beat is a quarter note. That's what that means. Now all I'm pointing out there is when you see that 1/4, or when you see 1/16, or you see something like when it says 1/4, you can cut the actual sample slice on quarter notes, going by the kick drum. The kick drum being the 1, the snare, the first snare being the 2 beat, the second kick drum being the 3rd beat, and the 4th beat is the 2nd snare. So you could cut it that way. And if you have a pad device where you have 16 pads, you just continue cutting that way for 16 pads. You see what I'm saying? So that's one way that you could cut. And each time that you actually strike, when you strike the pad or you strike whatever it is to trigger that actual sound that has the kick drum on it or the snare drum, either one of those pads, it'll be hidden somewhat. It should be hidden by your beat, just the way I'm doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see what I'm saying? So each kick drum hit, when you strike that pad, that kick drum beat should be layered over with your beat. That's one way that you can do it. And that's a basic concept as far as even flipping a sample just using quarter notes to actually strike and play back the actual sample flips. Now, there may be more. There may be more beats or more drum hits within the sample, and I'm going to show you that in a different sample flip that I've done. Before I go there, though, let me let you listen to the rest of this here as it is. Remember, layering is a concept that you must know as a music producer. And layering, it goes farther than just, just layering the drums. You layer everything. You layer the music instruments. Everything is being layered. If you think about it in terms of anything that's 3D, if you think about stacking, looking at the lanes here, if you were just looking down on the lanes, yeah, it looks like lanes on a road. So you're tracking everything out and it looks like lanes on a road. But if you take it like this, it's stacked. Think about this as being stacked in 3D, layering. So each one of these layers, if you will, each one of these lanes is a layer. So all of those sounds, some of them are low frequency, some of them are high frequency, some of them mid frequency. The frequencies, you got to learn what the frequencies are and how to manipulate those because they're being layered. But if you think about it as stacked and think about everything in 3D, this is a 2D representation. Even if I stand it up and I stack everything, it's still a 2D representation here. But if you think about it in 3D, then think about how you move around, how you got to move around with each sound as it's playing and make sure that you hear every sound coming through in the mix. You have to change your perspective to be able to do that. Even to think about it, you have to kind of change and think about what you're listening to and kind of change your perspective and say, that's not really coming through the way that I want. That hi-hat is not really coming through the way that I want, or whatever piece. See, you don't want the listener to have to change perspective like that in 3D. You change what's playing in 3D to come to the listener. That's what that means. Thinking about your music in 3D.